So if each of you brought me, myself, and I, we have 3 times the capacity as usual. Thank you for doing that. Our first opening number is L'chu Neranena on our song sheet. L'chu Neranena, lai, 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 la Adonai, yai, lai, 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 Naria, yai, lai, 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 Letzuri sheinu, yai, lai, 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 lai. Let us sing out to God, maker of all, sure and strong. Let all of creation from mountain to sea hear our song. L'chu Neranena, yai, lai, 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 la Adonai, yai, lai, 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 Naria, yai, lai, 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 Letzuri sheinu, yai, lai, 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 lai. For all of the wonder in all of God's light, we rejoice. So now let us listen with all of our hearts to hear God's voice. L'chu Neranena, la Adonai, yai, lai, 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 Naria, Letzuri sheinu, yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 yai, lai, 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 lai.
Welcome and Shabbat Shalom. Take a minute to introduce yourself to someone who maybe you don't know, or just say Shabbat Shalom to some people. Hi. So glad you are all here. And thank you to those at home who are unable to be here in person, but we're glad you're tuning in. Thank yous to our Temple President, our hardworking Temple President, Matthew Meyer, and his hardworking assistant, Molly Meyer, and our musical co-leaders, as always, Andy Sussman and Ruth Pavlo, and our tech guy and hardworking website designer, Xavier Leff. So welcome, welcome to all. We continue as we light our Shabbat candles, wonderful symbols of hope, and Renee and Sandy Horowitz will be coming up to light them. You can follow along in your prayer book on page 120.
Sher Kedishana b'mitzvah tov v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, O God, source of all life, and who brings us holiness through mitzvot, and who gives us the mitzvah of lighting the Shabbat candles.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu להדליק נר של שבת.
Thank you, and Yasher Koach. And Renee is part of the small team that keeps our food closet going twice a month as she sits out and delivers food to those in need. So remember, we still have our food closet going, and donations are always welcome. Lecha Dodi is our song as we poetically compare the Shabbat day to a beautiful bride coming into our midst. And we sing, this is the one we sing verses 1, 2, and 9, right? There's one Lecha Dodi version that doesn't have the verses, but this is not it. Okay, never mind. I'll assume it's not it. We do verses 1, 2, and 9, and at the last verse, we rise and face the door and welcome the Shabbat bride into our sanctuary and into our hearts for the next 24 hours. Lecha Dodi on page 138.
Ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה, ya la 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 Lecha Dodi, ya la 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 לקראת כלה, ya la 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד, השמיענו אל המיוחד, אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. יא לה 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 Lecha Dodi, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה, סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. יא לה 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 Lecha Dodi, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. בואי ושלום עטרת צבלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. יא לה 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 Lecha Dodi, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה. יא לה 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 Lecha Dodi, יא לה 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 לקראת כלה, יא לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
You may remain standing for Baruch Hu on page 146, and we begin with the meditation, Am I Awake? And is that on the song sheet? It's on the song sheet.
Ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed Leolam Va'ed Ya la 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 Ya la 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 la.
Page 152 is Shema. Be attentive, hear, understand, Israel. Our God is Echad. Our God is oneness, is unity, is when all people come together for a common purpose. That godliness can be found whenever there is oneness and unity. Page 152, Shema. Am I leading? Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha. Love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind.
On the song sheet.
And all these words which I command you on this day shall be in your heart, shall be in your heart. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise. Bind them for a sign upon your hand, that they may be a symbol between your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house and upon your gates, and upon your gates. Teach them faithfully unto your children. Speak of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down and when you rise, and when you rise, and when you rise.
Chamocha is a little bittersweet this week, as Miriam in this week's Torah portion dies. So it is our farewell to Miriam, at least till we read Torah again next year. This is a tambourine that was given to me as a gift that is painted by an Israeli artist, and you can see some Israelite, well, if you can, depending on how good your eyes are, if you can see from there are some Israelite women who are dancing with their timbrels as described in the Torah story, with the backdrop of the Red Sea parting. I don't think they look very enthusiastic, but I think they do look like Israelites who have been journeying all night across the sea, and they're now being told to dance. And I think this is probably a realistic portrayal because they're all kind of going. But I think maybe their adrenaline got going. You know, when they all started dancing and singing, they got their second wind, so to speak, and they did their dancing. So this is a version of Mi Chamocha we have done here before. It is by contemporary singer-songwriter Michelle Citrin, and I just really like it. And there's so few Mi Chamocha tunes that sound like Mi Chamocha should sound, because it's a song exclaiming joy, even if it's tired joy, at being freed from Egypt, and they often sound very ponderous and solemn. So there's 3 Mi Chamochas I know of that have the right tune, the right spirit and energy for this type of song, and this is one of them by Michelle Citrin, and it is on your song sheet.
And there's a couple of spots there where you're going to echo. So the chorus is the chorus, and then the verse you're going to echo some of the words there. Here we go. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha, malchutecha, ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli, anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, ya la la ya, ya la 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 ya, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you? Adonai. Who is like you? Who is like you? Who is like you, Adonai? Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osefele, nora tehilot osefele. Malchutecha, ra'u vanecha, bokei hayam, lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, ze'eli, anu ve'ameru, Adonai imloch le'olam va'ed, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la.
A prayer for protection, Hashkivenu, is on page 160. And it is specifically a prayer for protection at night Grant us, God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up to life renewed. A special prayer for protection at night makes sense because night kind of represents for many of us a time when anxieties are more likely to come to the surface, or fears or thoughts that we manage to sort of push aside during the day. And it is nice that in Judaism we do have some prayers to help us relax in the evening, to know that night passes and morning and day will come again. So this version of Hashkivenu actually draws from the end, the last line, right? It's on the song sheet. So it is really the last line of the prayer. It's by Jeff Klepper and talks about Sukkot Shalom, the sukkah of peace, that may God spread it over all of us.
Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah, atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
We continue with the central portion of our worship service, which is the tefillah, starting on page 164. We do, as we often do, the Charlie Kramer version of Adonai Sefatai Tiftach, which is on your song sheet. You may rise.
Adonai Sefatai Tiftach. V'yagid tehilatecha. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. V'yagid tehilatecha. Open up our lips so we may praise your name. Open up our hearts so we may feel our pain. Open up our souls to let our love make us whole, and we will praise your name. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. V'yagid tehilatecha.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov.
וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יעלוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש. We continue with the moment of silent reflection, either with the prayers of our hearts or of our prayer book, and we continue either standing or sitting.
Shalom Bimroma Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Aleinu Ose Shalom Bimroma Ose Shalom Bimroma Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Uyase 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 Shalom Aleinu. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. May the one who makes peace bring peace down, bring peace down. Aleinu.
Our prayers go out to all those in need of physical or spiritual or emotional healing, loved ones, friends, those around the world. We pray for them that they find some wholeness in the coming week. On this Shabbat, we especially think of David Appel, Carolyn Bouchard, Ethan Campbell, Yankel Ben Chana, Nicole Dubin, Daniel Urchik, Mordechai ben Sarafega, Roiza bat Shmuel uvat Sheva, Tracy Janetta, Julian Kaner, Ellen Kaplan, Erwin Kostrinsky, Marion Kostrinsky, Shelley Lehner, Michelle Lasanti, Arthur Longo, Mark Merberg, Arnold Reamer, Sheila Rosenberg, Rosalie Saltiel, Louise Samuels, Maxine Shapiro, Bobby Sherman-Gieshin, Herman Spring, Andrea Teeple, Carla Teisch, Katie Weinstock, Lori Weinstock, Bat Sheva. Are there others we wish to think of? We pray for healing and wholeness for all of them as we continue with our prayer for healing, Misha Beirach, on page 109.
Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say,
Well, it's not a good week for the old guard of the Torah. In Parashat Chukat, which is, we're moving along through the book of Numbers, the fourth book of Torah. So by the end of our Parsha this week, our portion, Parashat Chukat, Aaron is dead, Miriam is dead, Moses learns he will not be entering the promised land, so he is basically alive but a lame duck. So our trio of siblings who have been hard at work, very hard at work on behalf of the Israelites since the beginning of the book of Exodus, is clearly, in a variety of ways, being phased out, and we're starting to see a little bit seeds of the next chapter. Not literally, because the next chapter is Deuteronomy, but 2 chapters later, the book of Joshua, starting to see the seeds of what will come after this wilderness period. So it says in the book of Micah, and the book of Micah is from our middle section of our Jewish Bible, called Nevi'im, called the prophets. It says in the book of Micah, God speaks through Micah and says, I freed you from the house of bondage and sent Moses, Aaron, and Miriam to lead you. So making it very clear that this trio is who has been sent by God to lead the people. So we know a lot about Moses. I don't know if we know a lot about his interior life, but we know a lot about, his feelings, his actions. We know that Moses, with God's leadership, has been providing things like general rules to follow, laws to follow, community guidelines, basically setting a roadmap for how do you all build a community, a culture, a civilization even, that provides for all in the most fair way possible, the most just way possible, the most compassionate way possible. So that is, and Moses has been the leader of military campaigns, so he's covered a lot of ground with his leadership. Aaron. So Aaron has provided the priestly support. He's the head of all the priests. The priests were in charge of the religious rituals that everybody in the community could participate in, offering the sacrifices that were brought by the people. So he had a pretty clear role and part of this trio of siblings. I was thinking that would be kind of interesting to contrast the leadership of these two brothers and the sister with like the two brothers and the sister of Succession. But then, of course, I remembered from a few weeks ago that no one here watches Succession, so that's just a waste of time. Two? Yes? Okay, well, okay, well, you weren't here when I did the other Succession sermon, but yeah, anyway, I think that would make an interesting sermon, but I'm not gonna give it, so I will just think about it. So that's Moses and that's Aaron. Moses is passing leadership on to Joshua, who's going to then be the military leader and governmental leader, but largely military. Aaron is going to pass on his duties as the high priest to his sons and grandsons, and in that way. Okay, so Miriam, she's a prophet. We know that. That's in the Torah, that she's a prophet. A prophet is someone who could be defined as someone who God kind of chooses to use as like kind of a mouthpiece for God among the people. So what did she say as a prophet? We don't know. We don't know. Torah doesn't tell us what she said. So she was a prophet, but we don't know what she said. We really know very little about her. We know her dancing with the timbrels, so we have that piece at Mi Chamocha. We know that at some point she made a snide remark about Moses' wife, and so God gave her a scaly skin ailment that she had to live with for a week. And in this week's portion, we know that she dies, and then right after she dies, the community doesn't have any water. That could be a coincidence. Who knows? That's it. So why is there so much more that we know about in this three-part sort of leadership pie that's divided up? Why is there so much more about Moses and Aaron than Miriam? Okay, well, it's not rocket science. Obviously, she's a woman, and women in women's leadership are largely, not totally, but largely written out of biblical accounts. In fact, in the Torah, when we get to the ancient spiritual practices that were the domain of women, that clearly were the domain of women, so things like communicating with the dead, that is in the Bible always women. You go to a woman for that. Things that are kind of spiritual, like amulets, rituals. There was some kind of magical process, or magical knot tying, which all I can think of is, okay, well, we have a little bit of it left here with the talit, but it's never, the Torah never says, now this is, well, the talit is a more recent development. But anyway, clearly that has something to do with this. But there were all these things that we see in the Torah that were magical spiritual practices of women. They are all completely forbidden. Surprise, not a surprise at all. They are all completely forbidden in the Torah. Every single thing that is a spiritual practice that is primarily the domain of women, God says, nope, no, 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 no. You're not going to do any of those. So that's not a coincidence. And I guess back to our portion, you know, so what do we do with this? Like, what's the message for us? So we do not have a complete record of the Israelite leadership in the Torah. We have a lot on Moses, we have a lot on Aaron, we have very little on Miriam. What was her piece of the pie? What were her unique gifts that she brought to the people as a leader? Was there anyone who took over for her? You know, we have there's a successor for Moses, a successor for Aaron. Did she have a successor? I mean, we just have many, many questions. So it would be easy here to make something up, and that's one approach to this, is we come up with what we call in Judaism a process of midrash. And the process of midrash, or drashing, or whatever form of that word you want to use, means there's some kind of whole, this is something that's not new. Doing midrash or drashing, or whatever you want to call it, goes all the way back to the rabbis. So this has been going on for 2,000 years. But the process of, hey, there's this big hole in the Torah, and we don't know what the heck happened, so let's kind of come up with some teaching stories to fill the hole. So in a little bit of a sense, it's like a creative spackling is how you can think of it. You know, there's like this hole in the Torah, and we're going to take a whole bunch of spackle and just kind of fill it in and put some pretty paint over it. And look, it's like there wasn't even a hole there to begin with. But I actually think it can be more powerful and more real to acknowledge that there's a hole and not just fill it all in and paint it over and say, you know, the reality is we could come up with a lot of stories about what Miriam was like, about what she brought, but they're not there. There's just a hole. And whatever she brought is lost to history. Not that I'm saying that Torah is a history book, because it's not a history book, but whatever that story was, whatever her piece of it was, it's gone, it's lost. And maybe there's a message in that, in not filling in the hole. Perhaps an important message for us is to remember what we lose when we silence people because they're women, or because they're people of color, or they're people with disabilities, or they're people who are old, or people who are young, or people who are from some different background or of a lower social class, or all the different reasons why we don't equally listen to all people, their perceptions, their experiences, and don't take them seriously. And that when we do that, there's a hole, and it can't be later filled in. We can't get back the knowledge of how Miriam brought her unique gifts to the Israelite people, and we are lesser for it. But we can learn from this error of history. We can do better at hearing voices and experiences and perspectives of those who society deems lesser or not as important. We can do better at living up to our Jewish responsibility to show kavod, which is respect, to all human beings. We can do better at making sure that we don't miss valuable lessons that come from the wisdom of every single person in our society. Amen. Dan Klein, man of many temple hats, is going to wear one of his hats, which is a member of the Board of Trustees, who is our duty trustee.
I'd like to thank my woman who tells me what I could say and what I can't say, and I may or may not listen. I'd like to thank Rabbi Rappaport and Andy and Ruth and Xavier and President and Molly. Thank you. Molly did volunteer her family to do the Kiddush and the Motzi. Very nice. We have Onegs, right? Steve Marcus set up, he and his wife set up an Oneg fund this year. So when we leave, we're going to go out and eat from the Oneg. Tomorrow morning, we do have Torah and me with Andy officiating.
Yes, so I said last week at Torah that we were not going to have it because I will be on a plane to Boston, but I was incorrect. Andy Sussman is going to take the torch, and Torah will continue. And so any of you who would like to, who have in the past or never have in the past, who would like to just see what's going on with Torah, get on your Zoom link and you can wear pajamas and have a cup of coffee with you and just talk Torah, 9 o'clock. Okay.
Great. And the link is in Happenings or whatever came out yesterday. Tuesday is not going to be, correct? The Tanakh?
Correct.
Or is it? Oh, okay.
Well, it's also 4th of July.
Beg your pardon?
Isn't it also 4th of July?
Oh, my God. That's right. 4th of July.
Every year, it just comes up so soon.
Are we invited anywhere on Tuesday? Okay, that's good. I'm very pleased.
Okay, the Kleins need an invite for July 4th.
We do have activities here. Thursday night, we have bingo. As I look amongst the crowd, okay, maybe crowd is not a good term,
Yeah,
but as I look out here,
nice turnout.
I have players, I have volunteers. I believe a third of the people here, including the children, were at bingo last night, and we appreciate that. Yay. Book Club, Sunday, July 25th. Arlene Baumel is the facilitator, correct? Notes on an execution. Got it right. Special summer services. Can I say this?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
please. When I get back from New England, we're going to have a bunch of creative, out-of-the-box services just to keep it interesting. So
I'm excited.
Yeah,
Here's
good.
the flyer. It came in Happenings, and it's in the lobby. I will not read it all, but I will be here, I believe. No travel those dates. Mahjong, canasta, plenty of activities. Choir practices coming up for the high holidays, right, Robin?
July 17th, first practice.
All right. And open house, big item on my wife's birthday, open house. I'm sorry, we're not going to be there. And it's on August 20th from 11 to 1. It's going to be bigger than last year. And last year was phenomenal. And we are working on events. There's going to be a lot of events. And get your partnership forms in. That's it.
thank you. And the crafts are coming up to open the ark for Aleinu on page 586. And you may rise. That's not their first, though. Yeah.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
Thank you, and Yasher Koach. To great-grandparents of great-grandchild number 4. This new one is very, very new. You may be seated. Let's see. We turn our thoughts to those who have departed this earth, who are with us in our memories in all the ways that they brought who they were uniquely to this world. That is what remains and what cannot ever die. On this Shabbat, we especially remember Benjamin Cohen, Ruth Dreyfus, Jerry Fogler, Douglas Glassman, Betty Golding, Solomon Gorowitz, Belle Hirschberg, Alfred A. Levin, Gina Lopez, Harold Newman, Alan Rosenthal, Ruth Rosner, Joyce Rubin, Ann Schiff, Sam Stein, Bertram Zlotov. Are there others we wish to remember on this Shabbat? We honor all of their memories as we rise for Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma divarach irutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala uvizman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevarach la'alam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha berichu. La'ela min kol berachata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Damiran bi'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama rab amin shemaya. V'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. V'yimru, v'yimru, v'yimru. Amen. V'yimru, v'yimru, v'yimru. Amen. You may be seated. We move from our sacred prayer of memory to embracing the joy of the Shabbat day, and it's especially joyful when the Meyer family leads us in our prayers for the Shabbat day, for wine/grape juice, for challah, and come on up, divide up however you like. You can take the covers off the little cups. Kiddush is on page 123.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'e kodesh zeh l'tziat mitzrayim ki banu v'chata yotanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha v'ahava uvratzon hinhaltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Grape juice. Okay. Want to uncover that? You two want to be the rock stars? No? But there's two there, one for each of you.
I forgot it.
How about we start off together?
Hamotzi lechem min haaretz, we give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together, as our prayer is joyfully said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
You may eat your challah. And as they, that's a nice big challah roll there.
Oh, it's hard.
Is it hard or toasty or just hard? Well, all right, well, I think there's probably better in the back. But let's sing Nasim Shalom first. Place Peace in Our Midst by Debbie Friedman, and it is on your song sheet. Now, complete chorus.
Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Let the light of your presence be the light of our lives. Grant us happiness, mercy, and peace. May the people of Israel join hands with the world, and our passion for justice increase. Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Let the light of our dreams grant us
Dreams grant us goodness, grant us blessings and love. May our yearning for peace for the world as the olive branch soars with the
dove. Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim. Nasim shalom tova uvracha chen v'chesed v'rachamim.
If anyone wants protection when walking to your car, apparently this can be used against any intruder. So anyway, hopefully it's better in the back. Shabbat Shalom.